So I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. His name is Johan Hamels, and I'll give you a quick rundown on who he is and what he's done and why we have him. Starting recently, in 2009, he told me that in Europe, when we're in this great recession, this great economic disaster, the Greens were it was the first time that the Greens grew in support and votes during this global economic crisis. So people knew how important it was to vote Green, even when the economy was in all the news. In 2006, and from 2003 to 2006, Jan was the Secretary General of the Green Party of Flanders, and he's the treasurer and on the campaign team of the Green Party of Flanders. For the preceding 8 years, he was doing democracy work for various NGOs. From 91 to 95, he was the president of the national executive of the Green Party of Flanders in Belgium. And from 1985 to 1991, he was an MPP representing the Green Party in Flanders in Belgium. So he has experience in what it's like to be an elected Green, somewhere where they have a different kind of representation than we have here. And Johan, could you come up and...
I'm going to give myself a little bit of water. It's a great honor for me to be here. It's in fact the second nomination meeting in Canada that I have participated in. The first one was last Thursday when the GPO of Ottawa-Vanier, where I live, nominated its candidate for the provincial elections of next year. So we have a young person of 24 years old who will work a full year to get even a better result than in the last elections in 2007, if I'm right. Huh? Was the provincial one?
Provincial, yes.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here because it's one of the things that I like to do, is to share why I am in green politics, because it's easy to share it. Rich has sent me an email asking me to talk a little bit about 3 things. Yeah. And the first thing is about the easiest. Yeah. It's the reason, like, why are Greens globally a network and what do they learn from each other? For me, it's every time, every country where I have been in these 30 years of green activism, political activism, I came home. It was a big surprise. I came in Czechia, I could not understand the language, I had to follow the Congress, because I was a representative of the European Green Party executive at that meeting. But I came into the room, I see the people, I see the behaviors, I see how they talk and go along with each other. Even if the party had a big problem at that time, they had a competitive election about their leadership. But it was easy to start my speech because I just said, like, I felt as if that was the Congress of my party. It's the same. It is the journalist just before asked me the question, what if the Canadian Green Party, if they were similar than the ones in Europe? And I said, like, this is the one thing that we can be proud of. There is a lot, we have much more in common than the other big political groupings on the world. The Greens fight for the same values, they fight with the same type of ways of working, and they approach and they grow in similar ways. I'm in green politics since the late 70s. We were an activist group, we were demonstrating, we had to fight the powers for peace, for pacifism, we had to fight them for world justice, we had to fight them for environmental justice, and we were demonstrating. And we thought during an election you can demonstrate too. So let's make lists. In Belgium it's lists, in most of Europe it's lists, it's not one candidate. But let's present lists, because then we can demonstrate by voting for ourselves. And surprisingly, in 79, many more people thought the same. They were not in us, we had no contact with them, but they voted with us. And in the early 80s, and it's a little bit of the secrets I would like to tell you, like most people think that the first country where you had members of parliament in Europe was Germany. But in fact, Belgium was 2 years earlier. Was in 81, Germany was in 83. We had the good luck that we had an early election in 81 and the Germans had to wait for an early election until 83. So, but we got into the parliament and we demonstrated in the parliament. Maybe you remember yourself these photos of coming there, and we brought flowers into the parliament, never seen. For sure, we had no ties. I was elected in 85, my hair was long like this, my beard was big like that. It was big fun because we wanted to demonstrate. We had good ideas and we had good reasons to demonstrate and to be angry. And being there and seeing our democratic institutions, our parties started to change. And we started to feel that we could do more than only demonstrate. We could influence the thing. I was 6 years member of parliament. I was a member of the finance committee. I'm an accountant myself. And so I changed a little bit, not much, but a little bit of the tax legislation in my province to get rid of stupid taxes that was taxing cyclists. We had to pay, in the 80s, we had to pay license fees to use our bike in Belgium. Totally crazy. But we got rid of it because we worked in the system also and started to organize ourselves. And later on, we got so far that we have had several countries where Greens grew so big that we're able to negotiate with others and form even coalitions and have government responsibilities. And after that, we failed elections. We've gone through all the cycle. My party was in government from 1999 until 2003. We were in the government, we had ministers. In 2003, we got less than 5% and we had no members of parliament anymore and no public funding anymore. But in 2007, we're back there with a new generation of people, and this is what I like of the Greens at this moment. We started 30 years ago. In 2007, my party was able to elect 4 members of parliament out of 88 Flemish members of parliament in Belgium. All 4 of them younger than 35 years old. That's the new generation who takes over the type of movement that we created in the 80s and building. And one of them in 2010 was at our BGM. Christophe Calvo is a 5th person who is now joining this group of 4. And he's 23. Now, Greens are working together. How does it happen? What do we learn from each other? The first thing that we learn from each other, and that keeps us motivating, is that we do not give up, because we know that we don't do a fight on our own. The telephone call from the senator in Australia at the BGM, I was getting, I don't know how you say that, but when you're...
Goosebumps?
Yes, I mean, you get thrilled from it, that you feel someone who is with us, but is on the other side of the globe, and we can hear him speaking, and it's with the same type of motivation, the same type of beliefs that he goes to fight in democracies and represent this type of programs and values to create a better world. These are things that we learn from each other because we connect so easily. The other thing, what we learn is we learn the things that work. I know that most of the Green parties look to each other's websites, connect webmasters, campaign leaders. I do that. I go on the website of others and I look and I find good texts. At this moment, one website I can just, I would like you to go to is europeangreens.eu. It's very easy to remember. It's an English one because for all of Europe everything is in English. You find a lot of materials on it in English of the work, the political work, the content work that is done. I will go to Europe on Friday because the next weekend on the 8th and the 9th and the 10th of October we have a big council meeting with 250 delegates, and it's in Estonia, one of the smallest countries in Europe. But in Estonia, that small country, we have 6 members of parliament of the Estonian Greens. It was the first Green members of parliament in the eastern part of Europe, and in the only country of the former Soviet Union. Remember where we come from '89. It was a dictatorship, communist dictatorship, and at this time you have even Green members of parliament in that small country. But what I think for Canada, which is even more important, what we can learn, is the way how Green parties in countries who are similar than ours have been able to grow and even break through the ceiling of this first past the post system. I had the good luck to be on the 6th of May in the UK, in Brighton, to participate in the Get Out the Vote activity to get Karen Lucas to elect into the House of Commons of, not the House of Commons, what do they call it, in Westminster Parliament, with 2-3% difference with the second against the second candidate. It was hard work, but it was local work. And this is one of the things that, as a new resident of this country, I feel a disadvantage for us Canadian Greens, is the disconnect between federal politics and federal engagement into politics, provincial and local. For me, I'm a Green and I want to vote Green, and I see it as one movement. Yeah. And I will always look for Green candidates at local level, and the Green Party at the provincial level, and the Green Party at the federal level. And we should build that structure, because that's what the UK Greens have used, and that's what the Australian Greens have used in Victoria, in Melbourne. Building on local success, getting their network of their voters who they know, their Green voters base, their identification of their voters, and use that to mobilize and to show that there were enough of them to have a success or to create a possible success for a national election. Here it's more difficult because of the culture that is different. But I think it's as a small party, and we are a small party, that's a given. I think we have to build that. I would like to see that, for example, young people young Greens would run for school boards. They just come out of school, they know what schools are, they have ideas how they should be better run, and give them careers into that public office and build up then for other type of things, of public office. That's about the global Greens.